Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at the CSGO Vanguard case. So first things first, we have the MP9 Dart, which I don't know what this has to do with darts, but it has just basically a kind of carbon fiber black design, and then for some reason there's just these arrows on it. It barely looks distinguishable from stock, and it really doesn't look better, I'd say. So for me, we're starting off with a very, very easy F tier I didn't even think about. Anyway. Our next skin is the G3SG1 Murky, which applies almost like a fish-like camo to the G3, except to only half the weapon for some reason, because I guess the mag handle and back are just not important at all. And it is relatively scratched up, and this is a pretty solid fact new in .02, and there's a lot of scratches on it. It's an unfinished design, it says camo skin, and yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say. It also has a lot of scratches too. That's the thing I was trying to think of. It just really, whoops. It really isn't that good. Um, I guess this might be better than stock, barely, but this is like a very low D tier. I can't imagine ever willingly using this skin unless someone gave it to me, maybe. Anyway, we have the 5.7 Urban Hazard, which has, I guess, like a black camo design on the bottom, but the main kind of thing you're looking at here is the nice red top. Very, very clean red top. And that's really what you're going to be seeing in games, just this very, very clean red top the whole time. It's just a very solid redesign of the top. It's a bit unfortunate the bottom needed like a camo instead of just being a simple black, because black and red would have been a really, really fire kind of color scheme, just of a simple recoloring. But even then, this still definitely isn't bad. I'd say you can't really go wrong using this one. So for me, that's a pretty solid C tier. Anyway, the next weapon is the UMP45 Delusion. And whoever thought this would be a good skin is pretty delusional. It looks like someone just applied like their fingerprint to the skin on a horribly like barf looking green background, and their fingerprint isn't purple-ish. This is just a horrible skin to look at. It's not to the point where it like hurts me to look at, but it hurts me to think that someone thought this was a good addition to the game. Sorry to whatever artist put this in the game, but I just really do not like the look of this. That's really all there is to say about it. I don't like this at all. Even though it's definitely different from stock, I think it's an F tier design. Anyway, next up we have the Mag 7 Firestarter, which is like a burnt Mag 7. You can see kind of like burn marks on the front, the side, the back, uh, and I guess a bit of scratches. I don't know if these are scratches or part of the design. And then the base skin is almost like a metallic white, which is pretty unique. And it does recolor the whole rest of the skin. But I'm personally not a fan of the kind of fired burn marks on it. It just looks like wear to me, almost like rust even, and it really doesn't look good. But the base skin looks somewhat okay, so I guess I'll give it credit for that, and I'll put it in the D tier. Anyway, our first purple is the SawedOff Highwayman, which has some kind of design on the back. Not sure what this is even supposed to be, and then the rest of it's just stock. Um, There's a lot better options for this SawedOff. I would never use this. It just doesn't look good. I'm gonna be completely honest. It just does not look good. I yeah. It's not only a very unfinished skin. The actual design is just nothing. It really kind of draws out zero motion or just like awe or anything. Stick to stock. Don't use this weapon. Skin. It doesn't look that nice. Anyway, then we have the Glock 18 grinder, which this is actually a special pattern with this. Most of the time, it's kind of like a spiral of these of like a metallic gray texture. But this is a very special variant of it. Yeah, looks more like this most of the time. But this is the special kind of skin pattern where it looks like this instead. When it looks like this, it's a somewhat alright Glock skin. I'd say it's kind of usable, and then when it looks like this, it just doesn't look good. I don't know why people like this kind of design on the grinder. It does not look good at all, in my opinion. This side, when it has like the spirals, is somewhat okay. Uh, it's alright. Doesn't look that much better than stock, so I'm still putting in D tier, but it's okay. It's almost C tier. I could see why people would want to use it. Anyway, then we have the M4A4 Griffin, and it's a very, very clean. I mean, this is a 001, so that might be why. But I actually think I have one of these or had them at some point, and it generally looks like a really clean skin. There's normally not that much wear to it. And it's basically the stock M4 with this cool kind of Griffin art applied in the spot where you would be looking. It's a very well done kind of Griffin art piece, and I guess there's some feathers like flying around the sides or whatever. I didn't even notice before. But yeah, it's a solid design of a Griffin, but otherwise it's basically the stock skin. Although I don't really know what more they could have done. Um, yeah, that's all there is to say about this one. I'd say it's a low C tier. I really would not mind using this. I mean, I have in the past, so that clearly I wouldn't mind using this. Because it's a very solid design where your eyes are going to be looking on the M4, but the rest of it is just stock, literally. Anyway, then we have the M4A1S Basilisk, which obviously doesn't come with the Fnatic sticker that's applied to this one. It's just a metallic M4A1S. Looks very clean for people that like that, and even for people that don't like the metallic look, I think this is the best looking kind of metallic skin out there. Got a very nice design in the middle, and the rest of the skin just looks really, really clean. So for me, it's an easy C tier, almost a B tier, honestly. Honestly, I'm gonna put it up in the B tier. It's a really solid skin. I actually wouldn't mind, purchasing one of these to use. It looks really clean. Anyway, our first pink is the Scar 20 Cardiac. I guess this is what someone sees when they're going into cardiac arrest when the cops are pulling up. I have no fucking clue what the actual design of this is supposed to be. But the basic recoloring of the blue here and having the CT logo and even the scope and everything kind of being colored. The basic blue recoloring looks nice, and then they randomly added these orange splotches to it that don't really fit that well and kind of take away a lot from the skin. But it's not completely unusable. It's not completely horrible. It's still a pretty solid skin overall, even with that orange just not really fitting perfectly. It fits pretty well with the color blue, so it goes alright. And I'd say the point where it's kind of something you can't go too wrong with, especially on the auto sniper, which you rarely ever use in game. It's a solid C tier. Uh, yeah. And we have the PT50 Cartel, which is kind of like the Basilisk. It's a metal version of the P250. But unlike the Basilisk, I don't think this one looks as cool for people that aren't fans of the metallic set. Obviously, for people that want a metallic set of weapons, this is like a really good skin. But I think for everyone else, it's just somewhat okay, somewhat alright, but nothing really crazy. To the point where I'm putting this top of D tier, very close to C tier, but I don't think it kind of makes that gap. Anyway, we have the XM1014 Tranquility, which has some kind of like some like heavenly kind of girl thing in the middle here, almost like rose petals around the outside. Definitely some type of like tree with kind of flowers on the back here, and a general kind of red design to the skin. This is relatively good factory new 0.05. It's actually kind of toward the lower end, but there's a lot of scratches for a 0.05 skin, so it's something to keep in mind. And the base design, it's alright. Nothing really crazy. It's basically just a red XM. And it's not the color red that you'd want to see, like the candy apple red. This is just a darker red, kind of what you'd expect when you think of like a cherry or something. And then the design is like kind of hard to see, especially in game. You're never gonna actually be able to see this in intricate detail. And even when you do, it's kind of hard to figure out. It's an alright XM skin, but it's really nothing that great. I'd say it's kind of like mid D tier. It's not something I'd really want to use that much. Anyway, our first red is the P2000 Fire Elemental, which is just a little like kind of flame spirit going across either the ocean or like space in the background. Looks very clean, looks kind of dope. And I think this would have a lot more use if it wasn't on a pretty much unused weapon, being the P2000. It's just very clean color scheme, very clean design, just very clean everything. Easily a high B, low A. I'm gonna put it in A tier for that exact reason. I really like the look of this design. It kind of sucks that the PT1000 has no real reason to use it right now, but maybe that'll change in the future. Who knows? Anyway, our final skin, and what a lot of people consider the highlight, is the Wasteland Rebel. For some reason, this one has a ton of stickers all over the place on it. Not really sure why they did that, but this is basically what it looks like. It says make them cry. There's a bunch of other random markings and stuff. And this is kind of what you'd expect from like some, rebellious like jungle warrior in like Africa or something like that. Uh, just kind of a bunch of, designs and things on it. Skull with guns going through it, I think. It's okay. It really fits that aesthetic well. I don't want to like say like this is poorly designed. I'm just not a fan of the design that was going for here. Um, so for me, this is just a solid C tier skin. I really just I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I can see why people would really like the skin. It can definitely look really dope, depending on your kind of mindset. And yeah, that's it for the Vanguard case. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.